This conference will now be recorded.
Call the August 16th meeting of the APC to order. Mr. Burns, would you call the roll, please?
Jackson Bogan.
Here.
Larry Leverance.
Here.
Carla Snodgrass. Gary Schroeder.
Here.
Jerry Reynolds.
Here.
Greg Jones.
Here.
Bob Metzger.
Here.
Diana Looper.
Here.
Vicki Pearl.
Here.
Michelle Dennis.
Here.
Tom Murtaugh.
Present.
Perry Brown.
Here.
Tracy Brown.
Present.
Jason Demkowski.
Here.
Lisa Dullum.
Here.
Kathy Parker. Kathy Parker. Jody Hamilton. Jody Hamilton. Quorum present.
Thank you, sir. Briefing session.
Thank you, Mr. Leverance. The petitioner for Z2899, Aaron Walker, has requested a continuance to the September 20th public hearing, and Z2901, M3J Properties LLC, has requested a continuance to the October 18th public hearing. All other cases are set to go forward tonight. Is that correct, gentlemen? Yes. All other cases are set to go forward.
Okay, thank you. Approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from the July 19th, 2023 public hearing as submitted.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. New business.
I move to hear and vote on Resolution PD 2304, Subtext Acquisitions LLC, Verve 2 PD, that's Z2882.
I second.
Okay, this plan development was approved by City Council back in May of this year. The site in West Lafayette is on the corner of Salisbury and Wood Street, right across the street from Verve 1, which is under construction right now. So these two are actually going to kind of overlap a little bit. The proposal is a 153-unit apartment complex building with a 158-space parking garage. Final detailed plans are construction plans and final plat. Bonding's been requested and has been submitted and accepted, so everything is ready to go. So happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we are recommending approval of Resolution PD 2304.
Thank you, Ryan. Does the petitioner or his representative wish to make a presentation?
Ryan Munden with Reiling, Teeter, and Schreier here on behalf of Subtext Acquisitions LLC. Our client is excited to get their second project in West Lafayette underway. We concur with staff's report and recommendation. We request your approval. Happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Does any member of the audience wish to comment on this petition? Any questions from the board?
There was a question that was just given to me, and I believe the answer would be that since we are requesting bonding here in the staff report, that an affirmative vote on the ballot would
Is sufficient.
would be sufficient to create that bonding requirement.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Make sense?
It's just a yellow ballot.
Yellow ballot. Yeah, this is a plan development, not a subdivision.
Okay? All right. You have the ballot. Go ahead and vote.
Unanimous ballot for approval.
Thank you, Ryan. Next item.
I move to hear and vote on the request to authorize the submission of a belated subdivision extension request for S 3269 Rainy Brook subdivision Part 2, Section 2.
A second.
All right. The, this primary approval was originally granted in 2003 for a 67-lot single-family subdivision. There's the details. The last extension expired in February 19th of last year, and it's staff's opinion that there have been no changes in zoning or the subdivision ordinance to warrant re-reviewing this, and that this extension request could be heard. And so we are recommending approval of this request.
This is just the request for the extension.
To authorize.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to authorize
exactly.
the reset,
Yeah.
the extension, yes.
Yeah.
Does the petitioner or petitioner's representative wish to make a presentation?
Good evening, Tim Balancey with T-Bird Design, representing the petitioner Arbrook LLC. Just agree with staff's comments for approval and request approval.
All right. And does any member of the audience wish to comment on this petition? Any questions from the board? Okay, this is a voice vote. This is for authorization, so all we need is a voice vote on that. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
I move to hear and vote on the request to extend subdivision approval for Rainy Brook subdivision Part 2, Section 2, S 3269.
A second.
Okay, well, to make it more interesting, here's another slide for this case. So these are the lots in question that remain, and again, there's nothing materially changed with our ordinances to warrant any further scrutiny of this, so we are recommending approval of the extension request.
Tim Balancey for T-Bird Design. I think the last time I was here getting this approval, I thought we'd be done by now, but my fingers are crossed we'll finish this up before the next 2 years. So we I request approval as per staff's comments.
Thank you. Does any member of the audience wish to comment on this petition? Questions from the board? Okay, this one you do have a yellow ballot on.
We do? I don't have. That's interesting. I filed all of them. Thanks, Mom. all filled out.
We have a unanimous ballot for approval.
Thank you, Ryan.
I move to hear and vote on the request to extend subdivision approval for Bilt's Commercial Subdivision S 2740.
All right. This one's a bit older. Original approval was granted back in 1998, September 16th. We have obviously had numerous two-year extensions for this subdivision. Let's see, there we go. Obviously, there's still more to go, but there really, again, with this case, given the zone, there really have not been any material changes to the ordinance to warrant further scrutiny. So similar to the previous case, we are recommending approval for this extension request.
Petitioner, please.
Tim Ballancy for T-Bird Design, representing the petitioner. We agree with staff comments, request approval. I have talked to the owner, and they plan to probably final plat this before the next 2 years, so this one most likely will go away as well. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Does any member of the audience wish to comment on this petition? Any questions from the board? All right. You have a yellow ballot on that one.
Unanimous ballot for approval.
Thank you. Okay, our public hearing. Let me read you our procedures for that hearing. For those of you unfamiliar with our procedures, the Commission would like you to know the following. When we hear a request to subdivide land, we're only concerned as to whether the actual drawing showing the division into lots meets the technical standards of our ordinance. The question of appropriateness has already been determined. Anyone wishing to make comments or provide us with information regarding any subdivision petitions will be given the opportunity to do so. When we're hearing a request for a change in zoning, we're trying to determine if the new zone being requested and the uses allowed in that zone are appropriate to that property and supported by the comprehensive plan. With each case being heard, our staff will present its report. Then the person requesting the rezone will be given an opportunity to speak. Following that, those of you wishing to speak in favor of the rezone will be recognized, and those of you who wish to oppose it will have a turn. This will be your only time to speak. The person requesting the action will be allowed a rebuttal. Plan Commission members will then ask questions and finally vote. Please limit your statements to no more than 5 minutes. We ask that you not repeat what others have said, what others before you have already said. We are a 17-member body, and a majority of 17 is 9. Regardless of how many commissioners are actually present, at least 9 votes in favor or 9 votes against are required for our action to be official. If fewer than 9 of us agree to either approve or disapprove an action, that case must be heard again next month. Our vote on a request to subdivide is final. Our vote on a request to rezone serves as a recommendation to the appropriate City Council, Town Council, or County Commissioners, who must ultimately decide on changes in zoning. When addressing the Commission, please state your name and address for the record. Cell phones must be turned off while the meeting is in session. If you need to make a call, please step out of the room before using your phone. All exhibits presented to the commission become the property of the commission.
I move that there be incorporated into the public hearing portion of each application be heard this evening and to become part of the evidence at such hearing, the Unified Zoning Ordinance, Unified Subdivision Ordinance, the Comprehensive Plan, the bylaws of the Area Plan Commission, the application, and all documents filed therewith, the staff report and recommendations on the applications to be heard this evening, and responses from the checkpoint agencies.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'm ready to hear the continuances.
I move to continue Z 2899 Aaron Walker, R1U to R2U, to the September 20th APC public hearing, and Z 2901 M3J Properties LLC, R1U to GB, to the October 18th APC public hearing, both at petitioner's request.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Subdivisions.
I move to hear and vote on S 5137 Research Village Subdivision, Section 1, formerly known as the plat at Yeager Road, major preliminary.
Good evening, David Hiddle with the Area Plan Commission, here with your first public hearing matter. This is a major preliminary plat known as Research Village Subdivision. It entered the system known as the plat at Yeager Road and has changed names. This is a 23.5-acre site zoned R3, primarily zoned R3. The corner section of it is zoned R1. It was zoned R3 in May of this year. And as you can see, it is currently unimproved, used agriculturally. It is surrounded to the north, south, and east by agricultural properties, and to the west by Hadley Moore's subdivision. The northern boundary of the city of West Lafayette comes out to where you see the I-3, the purple I-3 area just south of here. So this is in unincorporated area of the county just north of the city. This is a request to create a multifamily subdivision. It would be 2 lots, the primary lot and then an outlot, which would be used essentially for drainage purposes. The eventual development would be 14 buildings with 446 total units. Looking at this graphic, you can see to the west, Round Table from Hadley Moore's subdivision would continue through the southern and southwest part of this site, along its southern edge and to its southeast corner, where it would link up with Yeager Road. I'm putting the laser on. I realize you guys can't see where I'm putting the laser, but anyway. Yeager Road across the north and the east would be improved, and those two new streets would link up at the southeast corner of this site, and that's how the site would gain access. There was a variance granted for this property to allow for less parking than is ordinarily required, pretty much in line with similar types of requests for similar types of developments in recent years. The usual slate of conditions are included on page 26 and 27 of the staff report, and I believe that the petitioner is agreeable to those. This also is a request that involves bonding. Staff is supportive and would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Does the petitioner or his representative wish to make a presentation?
Malachi Piercy, Kimley Horn, 1330 Win Henschel Boulevard. Representing the petitioner, we agree with the recommendation for approval and here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the audience wish to make a comment on this petition? Are there any questions from the board? Okay.
You said bonding?
Hearing none, you have a white ballot with Request for bonding.
We have 15 ballots cast, all for conditional approval with bonding.
Thank you, David.
I move to hear and vote on both the request for zoning commitment and the requested rezone for Z 2887 Gaeta Rentals Incorporated NB to GB.
I second.
Thank you. This is a rezoning case that you heard, I believe, 2 months ago, and it resulted in an inconclusive vote. Last month, the case was continued because the petitioner decided to include a commitment, which is part of what you have in front of you tonight. This is a property currently zoned NB, neighborhood business. The request is to rezone it to GB, or general business. This is on Schuyler Avenue, and you can see the zoning map right there to the south, and then a good deal to the south and to the east is residentially zoned neighborhood, and then the site is flanked on both sides by NB, and then across the street you have general business, which is shown in the pink, and beyond that you have heavy industrial, which is shown by the I-3. This site is under a quarter acre, and it was actually rezoned from GB to NB in 2006 after the adoption of the St. Lawrence McAllister Neighborhood Plan, which recommended that specific zoning for this property. There was a request to rezone this from NB to GB just over a year ago, and that was recommended for denial by the Area Plan Commission, and then went on to be denied by the Lafayette City Council. So what's brought before you tonight is the same, with the exception of the commitment that's been included, and I'll talk a little bit about that commitment in just a moment. So this is an aerial view of the property. You can see that it's improved to the southeast corner by a single building. The building itself has recently been restored or updated. And otherwise, the property is pretty much from corner to corner, from side to side, all paved. If we walk around the side a little bit, this is a view of the structure at the southeast corner. It's got 2 overhead bays and then a person door and a kind of an office area. This is viewed from the alley looking west across the site, so this is kind of where the site is pinched as it meets the alley, and in fact there's kind of an informal curb cut there, so you can just drive straight off the site into the alley. This is looking at the site. The structure is on the right-hand side. That's the subject structure, and then you can see how close it is to the nearest residence. So everything from that house to the left, which is going to the south, is residential and is zoned for residential use. So this is what we're showing you here is the proximity of GB, which is the most intense commercial use, to more traditional, conventional, single-family residential use. One of the goals of the ordinance is not to have the two so closely co-located, but rather to have some sort of buffering between GB and single-family dwellings. This is a view from the opposite end, so you have the garage of the house on your right, and you have the paved parking area of the subject site on your left. So that would be, again, Zone GB, and there's really no separation between the two. If this site were to be redeveloped, the structure taken down and a new structure built, then it would have to meet buffering requirements, which would be a 30-foot buffer yard to the south, and that buffer yard would actually be about the width of the building itself and take up almost so much of the site that it would be completely undevelopable otherwise. So kind of indicates the sort of jarring transition between GB and residential, but can't be accommodated here because of the smallness of the site. Across the street, you have a restaurant. That's an NB use. Notably, there are other NB businesses right on either side of this property. There's a restaurant, and then that you see here, there's a tavern, there's a convenience mart, all classic neighborhood-based NB uses. So that's indication that NB is a viable district here. It's not as though you have to rezone to GB because NB just won't work. There are other NB businesses that are working in the area. Looking across the street at a GB business, this is, I believe, auto sales, maybe auto repair as well, but sales. And it's just kind of indicative of the higher intensity uses that GB brings with it. That's why you typically want to relocate this kind of thing on their heavier arterials, again, away from neighborhoods. GB allows, this is sort of the difference, the primary difference between GB and NB, all of these things, automobile repair, gas stations, impound lot, towing services, automobile sales, automobile rental and leasing, farm machinery service and sales, mobile home dealer, truck stop. Now, not all of those are necessarily viable for this site, but it kind of gives you an idea of the company that GB keeps in terms of intensity. Now, I crossed out automobile sales because that is the commitment that the petitioner has included. They've said that we want GB, but we will commit to not use the property for automobile sales, which makes it a bit more palatable. You still have the rest of the GB suite of uses that, in our eyes, are too intense for this property. So, we are not supportive of this request for really the same reasons that we weren't supportive last year. It's too small. It does go against the recommendations of the neighborhood plan. It's a poor fit for this context. Notably, Schuyler here is a two-lane road, and it's not recommended for improvement by any of the transportation plans going out 20-plus years. So it's going to stay a two-lane road. It's going to stay a road that largely serves the surrounding neighborhood. And in fact, the only improvement planned for it is a bike lane, which sort of suggests that it's better to stay away from the higher intensity uses here. So we're not supportive of the rezoning, and would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Can this be restricted to 8 to 5 business?
Well, the petitioner could offer that as a commitment, and I think that those kinds of conditions can be imposed by the board as they take a vote. Eric?
I agree.
That's something that's happened before, so it might be a conversation you might want to have with the petitioners as they come up here.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you. Does the petitioner or the petitioner's representative wish to make a presentation?
Hello, my name is John Schrader. I live at 728 Cherokee Avenue. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner, Gaeta Rentals. In his presentation, Executive Director Hiddle spoke quite a bit about the neighborhood plan and the purpose of the NB zoning on this property. Could you take it back to the larger map with the color-coded one, please? In this aerial view, there are 9 different zones. They include R1U, R2U, R3U, R3, GB, I2, and I3. Residential zones border I2 and I3, which is the heaviest of industrial uses. As he noted in his presentation, this lot sits on the same road across from general business zone that is already seeing heavy usage. The neighborhood plan was put into effect back in 2005 and 2006, and these past 17 or 18 years have been a bit of an experiment for this lot. It currently sits unused and unoccupied. That was the condition it was in when the Gaetas bought it 2 years ago. It was the condition when they applied for the rezone for the first time in April of '22, and it has sat that way in the year and a half since, give or take. They've had some interested parties contact them about purchasing, but then they lose their interest as soon as they find out the zoning restrictions. This lot, the building on it, has a small office and 2 garage bays. It is designed for something to the effect of automotive repair, tire changes, oil changes, that type of thing. That is what the Gaetas seek to use it for. Gaetas have a variety of businesses. One of them is an auto sale. They have one over on Sagamore Parkway, maybe half a mile away. Because of that, the city contacted us prior to last month's meeting, saying they were concerned about us putting another automobile lot on this property, and they wanted to see a commitment. So we continued it to this month and got a commitment on the record. The Gaetas want to get some use out of this property. They were willing to commit to not use it for automotive sales. Had interested parties contacted us and really gone, made the case of why this shouldn't be, any of the other enumerated uses under general business, we would have included those in the commitment as well. But this has been here for 3 months. Every, call I have gotten from either the APC or the City Economic Development Commission, I relay it on to my clients. They've met with it in good spirit, and we have tried to accommodate it in kind. What we are asking tonight is to let this be rezoned to general business, go against the recommendation of the staff. I will be frank that that's what we're asking, so that this no longer sits fallow and unused and can be some economic use to the area. There's another question that remains about the area plan of who it's for. I would posit that it's for the neighbors. In the months that we've been doing this, the neighbors have not contacted us. They have not come to previous meetings. To the best of my knowledge, they have not contacted their city councilman who sits on this board. I understand why the APC has made the recommendation they have, but I respectfully disagree, and I think the integrity of the neighborhood can remain intact with a general business zone on this lot. Most of the ones that were enumerated, as mentioned, would not be able to work because of the size. Because of the small office and the 2 garage bays, a small oil change, tire change, small automotive repair shop would work, and that is the current intention of the owners, and that's what we are asking here tonight. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. As number one is, would this be an 8 to 5 business? And then you just brought up something else. Is this being rezoned for resale?
No, it's not being rezoned for
mentioned
resale.
the fact
They
that-
have, and yes, so I didn't articulate that clearly enough. They bought it with the intention of using it for their own purposes. When the initial rezoning petition got denied and they had to wait a year before trying again, they began looking elsewhere to see what they could do with this property. They don't want to sell it at this time. They want to use it. They want to have it for themselves. They have a son in the auto detailing business. They've, on top of the other uses they've kicked around, they've gone so far as to talk to him and bring this into their extended family of businesses. They don't want to sell it. Their current intention is for this to be in 8 to 5 business or thereabouts. A car repair can go a bit later, 8 to 6, that type of thing. But they're not looking for this to be an intensive use all hours of the evening.
And your remarks of council has not, I did know a couple people in that area, and they
Okay.
have requested it not be a GB. They weren't petitioning, they're older people, and they weren't going to, but it was just a request.
Okay.
And they like the MBs. But I remember when that was a motorcycle shop and a filling station and all this kind of stuff. And so it is a small lot. But I understood the last time, do they still own the house behind that?
Yes, they own the house behind it.
Okay.
If I have a question, if you could, Jerry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know how long ago it was utilized for automotive service? And for maybe how many years? It seems like the intended use of this property was for automotive service.
We have to reach pretty far back a little before it was used for that purpose. The previous owner, before the Gaitas, who I'm not sure who it was, they were really underutilizing it. It was kind of in a state of disrepair, and they had to really gut the inside when they bought it. So I'm not sure how long it's been since it was kind of used for the automotive, filling station, that type of thing. But I'm not aware of there being a previous use that's been made out of this property in the NB zone since it was rezoned 17 or 18 years ago.
I retired in '08, and I don't remember anything being in there since then, so.
Thank you.
The commitment speaks to not allowing a motor vehicle dealer or motor vehicle new or used only. Would the petitioner consider a commitment to limit its use to a 8 to 5 auto repair facility?
Yes, they would consider that. I think they'd be disappointed that this would get kicked another month. And they would consider that if that's the kind of decision we all come to tonight. But I don't know that the limitation of hours is the most important thing at this time, especially, the neighbor on the left isn't just a restaurant, it's a bar. The hours of operation extend to, I believe, currently 10 p.m. We just approved it last month to kind of expand the footprint of Lefty's. So, I understand the concern, but I think the character of the neighborhood already extends past regular business hours, and just given the nature of when it's reasonable to run, automotive services, I don't know that would be the most necessary thing for drawing this out another month. But yes, they would be open to that.
And I'd be open to 8 to 6. I mean, 5.
Yeah.
I realize that 5 might be a little limiting, but trying to limit it from the other uses, my personal opinion, trying to limit it to the other uses that could go into general business, which I think scares quite a few people.
And we listed automotive repair because that was the concern that was specifically voiced to us. We could have had an attachment there and enumerated more, but we did that with the belief that we were addressing the use of greatest concern, and that the other uses kind of farm machinery repairs on there that we could have a commitment for that. I don't know that would be all that necessary. You really couldn't get a combine onto that lot if you tried. So, but yes, we'd be open to other commitments, but we did not have those because we did not believe it was necessary given the nature of the lot.
If I may add, the horror stories from the neighbors is when it was a motorcycle shop. They run it till midnight in the morning, and it it was a disaster. We had a fire in there. Matter of fact, I think that wall on 19th Street had to be replaced. It had actually got damaged. And so I think that was a concern of the neighbors, is what they lived through on that particular lot.
Okay.
There were some terrible stories that come out of there.
Any other questions at this point?
Yeah, Larry, I have a question, and this might be more for staff.
Okay.
But with the current structure that's on there, if somebody wanted to build a new structure, I guess, is that current structure in compliance with the neighborhood business buffer requirements, or is it kind of grandfathered with having that?
It's in compliance in that it's grandfathered. It's legal non-conforming.
Okay, but even if a new neighborhood business wanted to build a new building, they have to have actual buffers that.
Or request a variance. Yeah. I believe it's a 30, for neighborhood. Do you know, John?
Well, because right now there's no buffer at all.
Yeah.
It'd be 20 or 30
So like
feet.
somebody wanted to.
Yeah, it's either a type B or type C buffer.
Well, yeah, I think in the staff report, it's a 30-foot type C buffer where it's required where GB zoning abuts R1B land.
She's asking about NB. If they wanted to leave it zoned NB and redevelop it.
It's 20 or 30.
So, yeah.
I think it's probably a
So really,
20-foot
like,
buffer
Yeah,
yard.
the type B.
Yeah, essentially.
That structure has to stay.
Yeah, it doesn't require the removal of existing buildings if we need to put a buffer yard in, but for the area that's available for a buffer, we have to put in that 20 or 30 feet for request for variance.
So if the neighborhood business wants to come in, they want to do something that they.
You mean if they tore the building down and started over?
Yeah,
Yeah, then they'd have to comply with the current ordinance and put in buffer yards.
which wouldn't work on that side.
Depends how big of a building you want.
See what the options are for that site.
So just to clarify, so if it goes to general business or GB now, it can remain as is, no changes need to be done to the property?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're leaving the structure as it is, not changing anything physically. Everything that's there physically now is grandfathered. If you're going to redevelop it, though, you have to put in the buffer or get a variance.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Schrader? Okay.
You mentioned the other commitments, like machinery or salvage yard or something like that, maybe be put in a commitment. I don't know, this is Perry's council district, not mine. I'm only involved because I knew some of the people, the residents that were past residents there, and some are still there. I still have some concerns, yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Okay, any other questions from the board for anyone?
Not a question, but actually a comment. I understand that the neighborhood plan looks for a case-by-case basis of these things being reviewed. I think this case actually needs to be allowed to be GB. Because as of now, the worst thing for that area of my district, is to have that business, have that piece of land just sit there empty, unused. Right now, we have a framework, at least, of what is intended to be put there. The building is suited to it. We should let that happen. We should allow that to happen. Because I can't see them bringing in massive amounts of things, tearing up equipment and piling up junk outside and things like that. I don't think that's going to happen. maybe the plan should change. Maybe the plan should be looked at. But right now, the neighborhood is changing. And this use fits in with the changes that are happening in that neighborhood. In my neighborhood, I live 2 minutes away. So I respectfully request that you guys allow us to move forward.
Thank you, Perry. Any other comments, questions? Okay, you have 2 ballots on this. The first ballot is for the commitment. Do we need to get a count on that for the second ballot? Get a count on that for the second ballot.
You don't have to.
Okay. All right, then you have a second ballot for the rezone itself.
For the commitment, 15 ballots cast, 14 in favor and 1 against. And for the rezoning, 15 ballots cast, 12 in favor and 3 against.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2892, Area 4 Development Incorporated. Daniel Bieberstein, Snowy Owl Commons, PD, GB to PDRS.
Okay, moving to Lafayette South Side. The site in question is along Twickenham, just east of Old 231 and west of Poland Hill. In the vicinity to the east is the Cobblestone residential subdivision. To the north is the Payless Shopping Center. To the west is a vet hospital, and then to the south is the new Redwood apartment project. So this is the site. It's currently cleared. The only development is a billboard that's kind of central to the lot. A little hard to see here, but it's kind of set back a bit from the road, about mid-block here on this site. The billboard itself is contained in an easement for access. It's delineated there in the property's plat. And our proposal is essentially going around it. So this very unique project is geared towards seniors. It's a single-level collection of rentals, 50 two-bedroom units, sprawling over 9.5 acres. So it's very, very low density, low intensity. In order to kind of separate the project from the billboard area, it was decided early in our negotiations to sort of push it as far back as possible. Plus, the homes are further away from the main road anyway. There's a pretty thick vegetative buffer between this site and the Payless Shopping Center to the north. So it's just a little bit more privacy, and it made sense to sort of lay out the development in this way. It'll have two entrances. It's just a private drive loop that goes through there. They have a little clubhouse area, and then the units themselves, sidewalk connections to Twickenham. Again, very low-scale development. Each unit will have a garage and kind of small driveway area. There's visitor parking, and there'll be room for parking along the street for guests and visitors, et cetera. So fairly low-key project compared to some of the ones that I bring to you, but this is a good infill site for the city, provides for a need for seniors, and given its connections to the shopping area within essentially walking distance, it seemed like a good fit for this area. So we are recommending approval of Z2892. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan, a quick question on the site plan.
Yeah.
Is the sidewalk on the east side, is that intended to be part of the city's trail plan, or?
Yes, that is something we negotiated with the project, is providing a trail connection. It's on their property, and there'll be a public access easement to it that'll take them to the Payless Shopping Center's doorstep, essentially to their boundary.
Okay, but that's not in place yet on the Payless property?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Essentially, there's a large kind of landscape berm along Cobblestone subdivision, and then virtually all the homes on that side are fenced. And so it's that barrier is kind of already there. And so on the other side of all that, on their property, is where they were going to put this trail connection. And there is a lot of pedestrian activity through this area. And I used to live in the Cobblestone subdivision, and there's a lot of people that cut through yards and jump fences and do all sorts of things. So this is an attempt to try to provide what clearly people want, a safe walking access to the shopping area. And so this project was able to accomplish that.
Thank you.
Does the petitioner or his or her representative wish to make a presentation?
Hello again. I am here on behalf of the petitioner, Danelle Biberstein, and Area 4 Planning. As the staff mentioned, this is a supportive housing project. The target demographic is senior citizens, those 55 and up, and those who are in need of supportive housing, meaning people who make 80% or less of the median income in Tippecanoe County. This is the type of project that there is a great need for in the state of Indiana and in this community. Statewide, there are only 38 supportive housing units for every 100 people in extreme poverty, less than half of what's needed. In Tippecanoe County, there are only 9 other similar developments that are currently in existence. They have, on average, 96.6% occupancy with a wait list. Area 4 Planning has begun to create a wait list for this project, and my understanding is that it is already full because there is such a great need for this in this community. This was as a planned development, so a lot of time and effort and care and opportunity for community input has been made up to this point. It is being done right, it is being done by the book, and this is the type of thing our community needs. And for these reasons, I ask the staff to vote in agreement with the staff recommendation of approval. Are there any questions?
Would you explain the 80%? This is not a Section 8, right?
No, this is not a Section 8 project. No. Okay. Yeah, I think they had to thank my clients. They had to hold themselves from shouting at me. No, this is not a Section 8 house, and this is supportive housing.
Right.
They are paying rent for this. It's dependent on their capacity to do so. And I can say on a personal note, in my daily practice, I do a bit of landlord-tenant law representing landlords. And in this community, we're kind of very good at handling the other end, getting people evicted and out of their apartments when they can't afford market rate housing. We're not quite as good at this end of things, making sure there is affordable and supportive housing available for people like senior citizens who need it the most. And just, I really think both professionally and personally that this is the type of thing our community needs, and I think there should be a vote in favor of this. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, John. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this project?
Good evening, Dennis Carson, Economic Development Director for the City of Lafayette. We are very much in support of this project. This is something that's been pointed out is very needed for our community, for seniors, and particularly for affordable rents for lower income seniors. The petitioners have been very accommodating during this process, so we're very excited about the PD that's coming before you, and we're also very excited to see formalize the informal trail that's already been started there, so that'll be a really enhancement for the neighborhood and the community at large. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
And Dennis, if I'm not mistaken, this is the project that some ready funds have been allocated to as well.
Yes, there is a commitment of $200,000 for ready funds in this particular project, yes. So it's going to have broad support.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Carson.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak against this petition? Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, you have another yellow ballot.
We have unanimous ballot for approval.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2897, 900 Place LLC, John Teeble, Corridor Place PD, R1U and R2U to PDRS.
I second.
Okay, well, this is another kind of inventive, low-key PD, as opposed to some of the more intense urban stuff I've brought before you in the past. This is just south of downtown Lafayette, between 3rd and 5th Street, on 2 different tracks, so 4th Street divides them. It's a very unique proposal. The overall area is about almost 3 acres between the 2 sites, but there's a maximum of 18 units being proposed, for sale homes that will be single-family detached and single-family attached townhomes. So there's going to be a little bit of variety here. So let's get into the details here. So if this is the old kind of railroad right-of-way corridor, and this is a true infill site, land being reclaimed for development after the tracks have been taken away a long time ago. The 2 sites, this is the one between 5th and 4th. This would be essentially the townhouse portion with some single-family detached homes. And then the part between 3rd and 4th are all single-family detached, with what is proposed as an existing alley that bisects that block is essentially going to be expanded and formalized as sort of the driveway for this project, for this part of the project. And let's get into a little bit more of the colorful details here. So this is the part between 4th and 5th. You see the townhomes. This area, the driveway comes off of the 5th Street's terminus, and they have a small visitor parking area. All of the units here will have garages, so they have their own dedicated parking. These are the townhomes, and then the single-family detached homes with kind of rear-loaded garages. The townhomes are also rear-loaded. The challenge with this project, if you can look at the contour map on here, the lines are really close together. It's very steep. This is the bluff, that's coming off, down the hill. And so this project is literally built into it, up in the bluff. And so it provided some interesting challenges for this kind of pre-engineering level that we're doing here. And particularly working with with Lafayette Fire, to kind of meet their needs for access. The portion between 4th and 3rd, this actually is adding a trail, a new city trail that will connect 3rd and 4th Street. And the homes, essentially, their front doors will walk out onto this trail. And then their garages are in the back, down the hill. So their garages are kind of at basement level, built into the hill, houses on top. And then they'll have vehicular access to 3rd Street and the existing alley via this expanded kind of alley drive. So there's a lot of flexibility built into this, because once we go into engineering mode, footprints may jostle around a little bit, and that's to be expected. So this project is essentially creating 2 large outlots within which the single-family home lots will be, the attached and detached products will be platted. So when we get to final platting, after they've done their construction plans and their full engineering, that's when we'll know the exact locations. But these are essentially the general locations at this stage. The homes themselves are going to be designed, and I can allow the petitioner to expand on that. That's his forte. But the intent is to try to kind of blend in with the Romig neighborhood, and try to build some homes, 2-story homes. There's plenty of those in this area that fit in. So they're modern, they're contemporary, but they will be designed to try to fit in with the historic neighborhood. And then this is just a simple shot of the elevations for the townhouses. And so Let me back up a little bit there. So given this unique infill site that is an incredible challenge to develop in, I think working with the petitioner, we've really come out with a really interesting combination of site locations, some public amenities, the new trail segment, and then working with fire department to make sure the access points are just right and they even have room to get their trucks in and out safely. We managed to kind of thread all that together into this proposal. And so we're very pleased with the result. So we are recommending approval with the standard PD conditions of Z 2897. If you have to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ryan. Does petitioner or petitioner's representative wish to make a presentation?
Yes, good evening. Chris Shellman of Gutwein Law, 250 Main Street, here on behalf of the petitioner, John Thiebel, the developer. As you may know, he's done several projects in the neighborhood, including Catherwood, as well as some products in the Centennial. And today he's bringing you this new project, this extension of 4th Street and the 4th Street development for this corridor place PD. As Ryan mentioned, it's a very unique site. It has many challenges, and the goal is to provide a couple different housing options, fill out the area, and continue that 4th Street plan. You've seen some higher density townhomes, you've seen some apartments. As we go up the hill, we want to get down to a single family, more traditional style home. And what was unique about this is we were allowed to maximize the space as well as maintaining an orientation along 4th Street to keep that city grid, city design. Ryan had a lot to do with this, put a lot of time and effort into this. Dennis Carson in the city, Dave Griffey, everybody really put their heads together to meet all the challenges, not just the engineering with Tim T-Bird, as well as just overall design and planning. And it'll create a new connection to 3rd Street, 4th Street, and even 5th Street with this housing and product. The homes are going to be fee simple lots. We believe that will make them easier to be purchased, hopefully have less issues with the technicalities of larger scale condos and banking, and will provide some customization for the future homeowners. We're expecting them to start in the 300s and go up from there based on final finishes and ultimate size. With this flexibility come restraints. The city must approve our final plans, any deviations, and our ultimate construction materials, but no vinyl or anything like that is anticipated. High-end materials, as you can see from the renderings, a contemporary take on some traditional concepts and designs. We'd be happy to answer any specific questions. Tim, certainly on the engineering, and John, any others on the project and design. But if not, we respectfully request approval.
Thank you.
I do have one quick question.
Sure.
Ryan had mentioned up to 18.
Yes.
But there's only 16
Yes,
on
and
the site plan.
that's the number one plan. We've been in talks with the city. If you flip to the east side, there's a spot where I guess one of my colleagues in the law probably right now has some personal injury billboard. It's a challenging site, but that potentially could add another home there if we can rework that. Right now it's overgrown bush and maybe the Hammer billboard. So that's one flexibility. Also, depending on the actual engineering, there could be another row house added if that makes sense to build that out. But there also might be one or two less when it actually shakes out. But the goal first and foremost is to maintain some orientation on 4th Street and make everything connect in a pedestrian manner.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just to reiterate your earlier comment, should it go to 18, that will still have to be approved by the city in order for that to be.
Yes. It's just a maximum cap from a zoning perspective.
Thank you.
Any other questions right now?
Yeah, if they wanted to exceed 18, they'd have to come in for a new PD rezone. You can't increase density via minor modification. So 18's their ceiling, which means they could go under that if they want to.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this project?
Dennis Carson, City of Lafayette, Economic Development Director. We're very much in support of this project as well, too. I think mainly all the points have really been hit upon for this project. But, this is an area that the city has wanted to see redeveloped for quite some time, and again, it adds more housing to our downtown and our community. And we got to get rid of some billboards, which was a big plus, and then, again, add another trail. So, happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Anything? All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak against this proposal or petition? Go ahead. Come up, state your name, address.
So I'm not necessarily here to speak against it, so it's not, I don't know.
Could we have your
where
name and address,
sorry.
please?
Angie Pattengale, my husband also Billy Pattengale at 615 South 4th Street. And we've been there for almost 20 years, so it is our little part of town that we cherish, and so we want to make sure that we're addressing concern or, so I'll start with the primary concern is a future negative impact to property values in our area. And I understand, because at first my question was, I was going to start with that concern and asking that we're hoping to be assured that there won't be negative impacts to not only our property values, but the property values of our neighbors, of course. So my first question actually was, do we know yet the projected real estate value of the completed structures? I heard he said 300 and up, so I mean that answers my question. However, we're wondering, are these being developed in order that they're going to be sold to a property management company? And is there any chance that in the future that they turn into actual rental property structures? Of course, our concern ultimately being that the intended purpose for these would become future low-income rental properties. And again, I only express this not because or that we are disapproving of the project. We want to see a beautification and a revitalization of every area of Lafayette. It means a lot to us. However, we're protective of our neighborhood like anybody else here. So we just want to make sure that the future of our neighborhood, our home and other neighbors is secure in that way. So I guess that's my question. Again, I think part of it was answered with the approximate value, but what does the future hold? Do they intend to sell them off to a rental property management company and then they turn into rental properties? So anyway, I think I've addressed my concern sufficiently. Yes, I hope.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this proposal?
Hello. My name is Caleb Riddick. I just have a quick comment. Currently, I reside on Ferry Street, but I used to live up on Holloway Drive. So I used to commute every day through there to work, past this every day. And my quick comment is just there's not a lot of green space in that area currently, and I've talked to several neighbors in the past that are a little concerned about losing the green space, but I appreciate seeing the trail going through there. So that's my comment.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Okay. Mr. Shellman, would you like to rebut, please?
Just briefly, addressing essentially the owner occupancy concern. First, the price point is pretty high to get a return as an investor on that. They're not going to be developed spec, they're going to be developed for specific homeowners. So that really reduces the likelihood of that. And in addition, there's declarations that go with the project that do restrict, not limited to owner occupancy, but restrict the ability to rent it. There are exceptions that are allowed for rentals, but the total percentage is capped, as well as the reasons for the association board and whatnot to approve that. So, not saying it'll never be rented, but there's pretty serious limitations and certainly ones that would dissuade anyone purchasing for an investment through rental.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, you have a yellow ballot.
We have a unanimous ballot recommending approval.
Thank you.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2903, Menards Incorporated, GB and NB to GB.
I second.
Good evening. So this site here, we can see is outlined in black, and this is the area in front of the Meijer and Menards in West Lafayette, specifically the Menards store. If I zoom in here, this, as you can tell from the aerial, this is one of the last few outlots in the shopping area that to be developed. Also, it's one of the last to not be zoned GB. If I go back to this map here, you'll see everything in this block from 300 west to 250 west is zoned GB on the north side of the road. The lone exception is what's just to the west of this property at the corner. It's an old cemetery, Burton Cemetery. Cemeteries are permitted in all zones. That will not remain unchanged. The main reason that this rezone is being sought for is really two reasons. Well, it's going to be divided into two lots, and the proposed user for the eastern side of the lot is a drive-through coffee store. Within the city of West Lafayette, the only types of zones that allow eating and drinking drive-throughs is the GB zone. So with the current MB zoning, the property could not be used with the drive-through. Staff thinks that this area has a regional draw, less of a neighborhood draw as it once did at one time. So to complete the GB zoning for the rest of the lot, staff is supportive of. So we're recommending approval.
Thank you.
Yes.
Would the petitioner or petitioner's representative wish to make a presentation?
Good evening. My name is Jessica Pearson. I am the representative for Menard, Inc. Address is 15420 Endeavor Drive in Noblesville, Indiana. We appreciate staff's recommendation to approve, and we're available for any questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Any questions from the board? Hearing none, you have one more yellow ballot. The one we've been waiting for all evening. We did do a lot.
Yes.
We have a unanimous ballot recommending approval.
Thank you, Ryan.
You ready?
Go ahead.
So I'm sorry. I move that the following request for subdivisions be placed on the September 6th, 2023 Area Plan Commission Executive Committee agenda at petitioner's request. placement thereon being without reference or to compliance or noncompliance with the adopted subdivision ordinance. S. 5148, Menard subdivision, replat of Lot 4 and part of Lot 3, minor sketch.
I second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I move the following requests for variance from unified zoning ordinance are not requests for use variance prohibited from consideration by ordinance and statute. BZA 2104, Archview Properties LLC, BZA 2115, Michael Kieswetter, and BZA 2116, Angel D. Diaz.
I second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Director's report.
Thank you. The director's report was distributed yesterday, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay. Any citizens' comments or grievances?
Just like to wish Vicki happy birthday later this week.
Oh, wow.
It's-
Happy birthday.
It's a big one.
Very-
Well,
What's a big one mean?
at her age, they're all big.
You said him up.
Good. All right, I'll take a final motion.
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned.
Merton knows too much.
He does.
Hey, we weren't supposed to read this, was we?
I read it.
Oh, you read all? Okay. Well, I was paying attention, but I was just trying to.
Oh, you got the resolution?
I do.
There's the two sets of plans. I'll need your signatures over here on the big.
Oh, okay.
She's only allowed me to take her backpack out here.
This conference is no longer being recorded.